Hi, welcome back to another edition of whatever it is that I do on YouTube. Today's edition is we are going to discuss Christopher Columbus. It is almost the second Monday of October, whatever you refer to that as, and this is my new puppy Tofu. She is 9 weeks old, and she is so cute, but I am watching her right now, so she's got to be in the video, and I'm so sorry that you have to look at her. I might have to put her down, but right now she wanted some attention, so she's in the video for now. We are going to talk about Christopher Columbus. It is timely. Also, I started thinking about this a couple of months ago. I ran across a clip from an Instagram account called The Portrays Show. I really don't know what they are. I've enjoyed some of their clips before. Definitely, very liberal types. But this clip that they put out struck me as having some BS involved in it. So let's just start by watching their clip.
Slavery is as old as time and has taken place in every corner of the world, even amongst the people I just left. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no? Before you judge, you must ask yourself, what did the culture and society of the time treat as no big deal?
All right, so the first thing that strikes me is that even from the way they edited this clip together, because this is, if you pay close attention, there's a little moment where they edit some things together.
Is better than being killed, no? Before you judge, you must ask yourself, what did the...
And I'll show you the full clip from the PragerU video later, but the title of it, they say that this PragerU show says that slavery was no big deal, which is not even what it says in their edited clip, right? Columbus says you have to think about what wouldn't have been considered a big deal at the time.
What did the culture and society of the time treat as no big deal?
So I don't like it when people, make their arguments disingenuously or claim things that aren't happening. It's like there's plenty to criticize about the PragerU video, and we will get to that. But you don't actually have to lie about what it says. And it just doesn't say that that Columbus said that slavery was no big deal. The other thing is, they're showing this clip as if this is so bad. This is such a bad clip. But, they include this part that is true. That Columbus says slavery is as old as time, or at least as old as agriculture.
Slavery is as old as time and has taken place in every corner of the world.
And they say slavery's taken place all over the world. Well, it has. I think that is an important thing to teach kids. And in fact, slavery is still going on. And it's one of those things, I don't understand why, the left, leftists, liberals, progressives, whatever, tend to act like it's, racist to bring that up or to act like we shouldn't tell it. We should, it's crazy. But slavery is still going on all over the world. And not even including kind of, soft slavery, human trafficking, ways of having people be indentured. In Libya, they have actual slave markets where they sell slaves that are taken from sub-Saharan Africa. You have hereditary slavery still existing in Mauritania, Mali, Niger, Sudan, and Chad. So, and it's along ethnic and racial lines, by the way. Yeah, I get it that there's a way that you can point to those things and try to sort of take away the responsibility of the West's part in slavery. But the thing is, I think we should be proud. Isn't it less bad to be proud that you gave up slavery? Shouldn't we actually take pride in that? I think it's pretty cool to say, as the West, it was pretty badass of us that we decided to give up slavery. And we didn't have to. First, I'm going to talk about what the progressive story of Columbus gets wrong. And then we're going to talk about, after that, what the PragerU, the conservative, whatever that vision of Columbus gets wrong, leaves out. And I found this video. I found this video from Adam Ruins Everything from, I think it's 8 years ago, that kind of a little bit smugly tears down Columbus, which, he needed a little bit of tearing down. Let's be real. He wasn't the coolest guy. So if people really thought of him as just a pure and simple hero, we did need some correction from that. But this video and a lot of the narrative that comes from the progressive side really does get a lot of things wrong. So let's talk about that.
Today, we'll learn about Christopher Columbus, the heroic explorer who discovered America and proved the Earth was round.
Actually, Columbus was an incompetent buffoon who never even set foot in America.
Hush, hush. We all know Columbus wasn't perfect.
That's an understatement. The real story of Columbus is even worse and weirder than you think. First of all, Columbus couldn't have discovered that the Earth was round because in his time it was already common knowledge.
Globes for sale? Perfectly ordinary globes for sale?
Oh, what? Then why did it take until 1492 for anyone to sail the ocean blue?
Simple. Back then, they didn't know the Americas existed. So navigators thought there was no way a ship could make it all the way from Europe to Asia.
So Columbus set sail because he was brave.
Nope, he set sail because he was a doofus who was terrible at math. Instead of trusting the experts, Columbus believed the Earth was thousands of miles smaller than it actually was.
Fools, all of them! My math says the Earth is teeny tiny and shaped like a pear, and at the top it has a succulent nipple.
He actually believed that?
Yes, I actually believe this. I can sail from Europe to India in a matter of days.
So yeah, Christopher Columbus was wrong in his calculations. He did kind of think that it was true that there was some kind of pear-shaped situation going on with the nipple up top, but he also knew that he was fudging his numbers, and that's something the PragerU video does show.
People thought the world was flat.
No, that's a myth. Since the time of the ancient Greeks, educated people have known the world is round and could possibly be sailed around. But Earth was believed to be so big that with so much ocean between Europe and Asia, no way could a ship hold enough food and water for its crew to survive a westward journey between the continents.
You thought differently?
I did my own calculations and thought maybe could be done. I might have played with the numbers a bit, but I was desperate to give it a try.
But this is true. Christopher had his own calculations, and he'd gotten them from books he was reading and maybe his own calculations a little bit. But he also knew he was fudging the numbers, and he was just hoping that he could figure out how to make it anyway because he needed funding. So he had to kind of show the people he was trying to get money from, like, yeah, it's not that far. Yeah, people say it's far. It's not that far. This Adam Ruins Everything video and the way that like progressives tend to talk about Columbus is like he was just this loser who didn't even know what he was doing. He thought this was India. It was crazy.
And that's the true story of how an incompetent and vicious nobody became the national hero we celebrate today.
Well, he was also very skilled. He was very incredibly brave. First of all, he had to be really brave back then to do any of this kind of sailing. And from the time he was little, he started sailing all over everywhere he could. He was reading every book he could. He taught himself Latin in order to read more scholarly stuff. Like he came from the working class, and at the time, like, that was a big deal. You didn't become an admiral and a sailor or whatever. Like, that was stuff the nobility did. So the fact that he went from this working class situation to teaching himself Latin and being able to become the admiral and the governor and all this kind of stuff, like, he was a pretty cool guy, like, in that way. Columbus hustles from childhood to learn as much as he can. He starts sailing as a teen, as far as he can. He has to learn celestial navigation and to read the currents and dead reckoning. He figures out that you can use the canary winds to go west and then to take the westerlies back. That was the reason that he could make the trip. He figured out this thing about the currents and he took the chance on that, and that made the voyage possible. Columbus studied maps and charts obsessively, ultimately teaching himself Latin in order to read scholarly works. Like this part, I'm going to show you a part of the PragerU video right now because this part is true.
I was raised in the port town of Genoa along the Mediterranean Sea. My papa was a wool weaver, and most boys just did whatever their dads did. But I was different. Every day I would look out at the sea and wonder what was out there beyond just what I could see. And so as a teenager and a young man, I did everything I could to cure my curious nature. I volunteered for all kinds of crazy sea adventures, and I took my first one at 14.
Whoa.
Yeah, and soon sailed to Iceland, Ireland, and Africa. I taught myself to read, learned many languages, and read everything I could about geography, astronomy, and exploration.
So giving Columbus no credit and just acting like he was some hapless fool who happened to, what a dum-dum. He sailed west, and then he happened to get lucky, I guess, that he's found somewhere that other people already found. It's like, well, you know what? Europe didn't know that was there. And sorry, but like we're in a Western tradition. Like the rest of the world didn't know there were island people there. It was a big deal. It was a big deal to figure out these currents. It was a big deal to take the chance to get there. People back then were dying just hugging the coastlines. You would die as a sailor. And the fact that he was able to successfully get so many men back and forth, it was a feat. Okay. Something that gets left out of all of these conversations, like in this Adam Ruins Everything thing, they go, well, it's only because Washington Irving decided to valorize Columbus. Well, here.
Then why do we learn about this guy in school?
Oh, great question. For centuries, Columbus was a historical footnote. But that changed in 1828 when Washington Irving, the author of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow and other tall tales, wrote the first English-language biography of Columbus.
Columbus was a murderous failure? That ain't gonna sell copies. Let's say he was a brave genius who proved the earth was round and discovered America.
Seems believable.
And Irving's myth caught on big time when some new Americans were searching for a hero. Throughout the 19th century, a surge of Italians immigrated to America, where they were persecuted and treated like they didn't belong.
This is New York City! We hate pizza, and we'll always hate pizza.
To help prove Italians were a part of the American story, Italian Americans latched onto Irving's version of Columbus and promoted it like crazy.
Hey, we know a guy that knows a guy that discovered America, and he's Italian.
I guess Italians are great. This guy deserves his own holiday.
Look, people were super racist against Italian Americans back then. They had darker skin. They were Catholics. Nobody liked Catholics because everyone thought they're going to be loyal to the Pope and not to our government, our people. And, they were just seen as quite lesser than. Really, people didn't like them. And the Columbus elevation made people go, that story kind of was like, that is a big part of the reason that we have America, that we have the United States of America, is because of this guy Columbus. Of course, there's also Amerigo Vespucci. And anyway, but we'll get to him later because, if you like Italians, or if you think we shouldn't be racist against Italians, I think it's fun to be racist against Italians. Anyway, but on the whole, I think that's something nobody talks about when it comes to like us valorizing Christopher Columbus. It did help us to stop being so racist against Italians. Now we are the appropriate amount racist against them. Okay. Now let's talk about what Now let's talk about what PragerU gets wrong.
I'm wrapping up the wildest journey maybe that anyone's ever taken. Nothing phases me. What, you from the future?
How'd you guess?
Either that or Indians? I've kinda had a hard time telling who's what lately.
I'm Layla. He's my brother Leo, and we need to learn about you.
We live 500 years from now, and there's a holiday for you, but it's really controversial, and we're confused.
Nice! I have a holiday? Well, caramba! I should! I've worked so hard to get to this point, and what I just accomplished was insane!
Will you tell us about your journey?
This is already just so funny that this little Bill and Ted brother-sister combo is just going to go back to Columbus, like to Columbus's day, and just take the word of it. Like, their question is whether this guy's a villain, and they're like, well, let's just take his word for it. Let's just see what he has to say. So let's not be as naive as Lilo and Stitch here.
There are a lot of people in our time upset about how you acted once you found all these amazing things in these new lands.
Ah, that's right. You said I'm controversial.
You have no idea.
I've got nothing to hide. Ask away.
So what happened when you met the native people, who obviously discovered the land before you did? The Indians?
The first people we met were great. The Taino. They were peaceful, curious, and really helpful. I could tell right away that they were highly intelligent. They even were able to quickly mimic everything we said to them. I ordered my men to treat them well.
I'm sorry, Mr. Columbus, but I heard at school that you spoiled paradise and you brought slavery and murder to peaceful people.
Leo?
Sorry. It's what I read and heard at school.
Caramba! those are some accusations.
It's very fun how indignant Columbus is at the idea of him being a bad guy. Yes, he had just met a people that he described as very friendly, and they were eager to trade. They were as nice as could be, but he also immediately enslaved 6 or 7 of them. He was like, hey, they're so intelligent, they'll be useful as interpreters. Yeah, he liked that they were intelligent, so he enslaved them. So he kidnaps them at this point, really. He just takes them. But he forced them, takes 6 to 7. He also said in his little diary, and I'll quote this, he said, they are very gentle and without knowledge of evil. That wasn't going to last long. I could conquer the whole of them with 50 men. Not that that's the plan, caramba. So I love this. This caramba thing is crazy. They have him saying that throughout this video. By the way, he also wrote about the Taino people, that they were hairless and they liked to come up to all the Europeans and touch their beards. They wanted to touch their beards, which, just putting it out there, people like touching the hair that's foreign to them that they find interesting. But what's fun about that is these little hairless, and none of them were fat, right? These little hairless, skinny Taino people, every time I type the word Taino into my phone notes app, it autocorrects it to twinks. So we can think of them as the twinks of the Caribbean. Also, what's clever about this PragerU video is that they have the kids talking to Columbus when Columbus is on his way back after his first voyage, which, he winds up doing, I think, 5 voyages and over the course of several years. And yeah, this is the only time that they could kind of get away with Columbus even like kind of acting this innocent, because the bloodshed and the barbarism and the horrors and the nightmares are still to come when he comes back, starting with his second voyage. In the first voyage, he goes around and kind of like mates a few people in different islands. And then when he comes back with 17 ships and 1,200 men. And all right, a few things, like just for some actual history here, which neither the liberals nor the conservatives are going to show you in a 12-minute clip, is he leaves, with the first trip, he leaves 39 of his men, right? Like 2 of his ships are gone. He can't take everybody. So he leaves 39 of his men, and they set up like a little village there. And when he comes back, he finds that the 39 of them have been killed. But that's because, and we know this historically, that those men were abusing the natives. They were demanding too much food and they were raping the women. So eventually yeah, you going to talk to? You going to podcast with me? So eventually the locals figure out, like, we got to team together and kill all these people. So they all get slaughtered because they were acting like frat boys on apocalypse mode. And then Columbus spends about a year looking for gold all over, and he can't find any because he's just in a part of the world where there's really not any gold. So this is when the barbarism really starts. And you have this excuse in the Prager video and in Columbus's own life that there are cannibals around here, which we have to basically take Columbus's word for it, which is convenient because at the time in Spanish law, you couldn't just enslave these natives, and especially if you had baptized them, but you couldn't enslave them. But if they were cannibals, if they were like savages, then you could.
The place I discovered was beautiful, but it wasn't exactly a paradise of civilization, and the native people were far from peaceful.
But you just said the Taino were peaceful.
They pretty much are. But there are other tribes who aren't. The Taino I had met had cuts and scars and bruises all over them. I asked why, and they told me about the Caribs, who are vicious, warring cannibals.
Cannibals? Like they
Eat people, see.
Whoa.
Right?
So he says that there's all this cannibalism going on, but from the archaeological and linguistic evidence that we do have, it seems very clear that if there was cannibalism, it was just like occasional, it's still cannibalism, but it was like occasional, like ritualistic displays of dominance and not like a widespread, it wasn't like the culinary situation. They're not exactly throwing hands in the soup. These people are drinking less human blood than the Clintons. So, but regardless, you have Columbus come back with 17 ships and 1,200 men. And after a year of trying to find gold, he's like, well, this isn't working. So he's like, well, fuck these people. Oh, okay. You want me to put you down? After he spends a year not being able to find gold, Columbus is like, caramba, they killed all my men. I'm going to do whatever I want to them. And so he sets up this system where he demands that basically all the adults, like, or maybe they're like 12 or older type thing, they all have to bring him like this much gold every 3 months. It's a hawk spell of gold. It was like a little trinket that they had kind of traded with them. So it's just a small amount that these people, they could point to and go, this much gold. But it was like this much gold that each Taino person had to procure for Columbus every 3 months, which was insane. It was impossible. I mean, Columbus couldn't find any gold. I mean, I'm sure he thought at the very beginning, like, maybe these people, if I force them to do it, maybe they know where some gold is. But it became pretty clear that there was not this much gold. This is like if today you demanded that people mine you 1 Bitcoin every 3 months on their iPhone, using their iPhone. You know what I mean? So not possible. And eventually he knows it's impossible. But he's doing these things where if they don't bring it back, if they don't find this much gold for him, he'll chop off their hands, he'll kill them, he'll just enslave them. So it's a pretty brutal system. And basically, he's in a tight spot because he's promised Ferdinand and Isabella that he can bring them all this gold and spices. There's not a lot of spices. There's a few chilies and stuff, but it's not like the spices from the Indies that he was supposed to bring back, and there's just no gold. And so he's got himself kind of a fire festival situation on his hands. He's made a lot of promises. He's got to bring something back. So what can he bring back? Slaves. That's what he can do. And even though Isabella was like, no, treat them nicely, don't harm my little natives, he and Ferdinand have gone into the cigar room and been like, well, anyway, obviously, if there's no gold, you're going to have to bring slaves. So that's the plan. It is what it is. And yes, slavery was very normal back then.
Slavery is as old as time and has taken place in every corner of the world, even amongst the people I just left. Being taken as a slave is better than being killed, no? I don't see the problem.
Well, in our time, we view slavery as being evil and terrible.
Ah, magnifico. That's wonderful. I am glad humanity has reached such a time. But you said you're from 500 years in the future? How can you come here to the 15th century and judge me by your standards from the 21st century? For those in the future to look back and do this is stupido.
A lot of slavery kind of worked differently, like it had to do with warfare or indentured servitude or this, that, or the other. But still, it's not that it was that insane to just capture people and enslave them. It's the way that he does it is real fucked up. And in fact, all these sweet Taino people he wants to protect from the cannibals that he's now torturing and then enslaving and chopping their hands off and killing. He's also treating his own men really badly. And that's part of what got him into a lot of trouble. His own men, he's whipping them to the point where they're dying of infections, and he's like starving them. He starts rationing the food, and if people, for good behavior, he would give out some food, and if people were upsetting him, then he would starve them, which he called divine justice. What did he call it? Oh, he called it divine correction. It's like, well, how is it divine if it's you, buddy? But all right. Yeah, whippings, shacklings, executions. There's no trials, floggings, mutilations. I always wonder, because I keep reading mutilations, but they don't always say what that means. But he would punish the groups collectively. These people are all hungry. They're dying of diseases. Yeah. I mean, it's just not great. It gets to the point where people start sneaking letters back to complain about him. It's a pretty rare thing to happen. They're worried that it could get back to him, but they start writing letters saying, hey, please, somebody save us here. This guy's cruel. He's crazy. So they send a dude to investigate him, and the guy's like, yeah, this guy is fucked, man. This is a monster, a true monster. Like, we're not even, these are hard times. These are awful times to be alive, but this guy is making them worse. Man, this guy is gross. This guy interviewed the Taino people as well as Columbus's men, and then he sent Columbus back to Spain in chains, where there was a trial, and then Columbus was stripped of his governorship and a lot of his privileges. Got off really easy, I think. Kind of like the Diddy of our time or whatever. I don't know what happened with his trial. Either way, I know Diddy was going to get off too easy. So yeah, that's the thing. It's like these Prager people are like, hey, you know what? We didn't know at the time, man. We didn't know slavery was wrong. It wasn't a big deal at the time.
So good and bad is based on the time you live in?
That is a great question. I told you I knew you were smart. Some things are clearly bad, no matter when they happen. But for other things, before you judge, you must ask yourself, what did the culture and society of the time treat as no big deal?
What did they not treat it in the time as a big deal? You can't judge people from the past if it wasn't a big deal then. Even for his time, a fucked up time. Even for his time, Columbus was seen as a monster. He was not canceled by a Twitter mob in 2017. He was canceled by his own men. His own men, who were also mostly probably cruel bastards. But for them, they were like, this guy's a step too far. So he was canceled by his own men in 1500. That's how much of a barbarous, villainous guy Columbus was. Yeah, and like even when the Prager View video is like, hey, would it be better to be sold into slavery or killed? It's like, yeah, if you were in a war with people, then it's like, would it be better to be killed or taken as slaves? They weren't in a war. Columbus just came and was like, hey, you got to give me all the gold that doesn't exist. And if you can't find gold for me, then I'll enslave you. And then he also was like he would torture them, slave them. I mean, there are all kinds, I'm sure, of crimes happening to women. Like, so it's a lot of those, people probably would have rather died. Yeah. And then also it's like when Columbus is like, you stopped doing slavery. Magnifico. Caramba, how wonderful that you stopped doing slavery.
We view slavery as being evil and terrible.
Ah, magnifico. That's wonderful. I am glad humanity has reached such a time.
It's like, oh, cut the shit, Prager. If Columbus had not been able to enslave people, he didn't have the spices and he didn't have the gold. He wasn't going to be able to pay back all these investments. So Columbus would have been fucked if he had not been able to enslave people. So this Prager video is disingenuous. So my take on all of this is, let's teach kids the truth. Columbus was a very skilled and brave badass explorer, sailor, navigator who propelled us forward in the West in terms of understanding the winds and the currents and being able to get to this land. He was foundational in what ultimately became the founding of the U.S. He was pivotal, I should say. But he was also a selfish, lying jerk. A true villain of history. He was a real monster. He was, by the way, is like just the sugar on top of stuff. It's like there was a prize, there was a bonus that was going to be given to whoever spotted land first, and one of his crew spotted the land first, and Columbus was like, that was me, I saw it first. So he like even took, it's like, what a POS, But yeah, that's the truth about him. He was skilled and brave, but a real bastard. And then, in terms of what we should do with the second Monday of October, I'm like, we obviously keep the holiday. And I think we should just call it Italian American Day. Apparently October is already Italian American Heritage Month. Did you know that? No, nobody did. I don't even think most Italian Americans know that. All these months are fake. You can't just keep giving people months, by the way. And I say that as a gay person. We can't all have months. You can have a day, maybe, I don't know, but we can all have months. But I think Italian Americans do deserve a day. I think they deserve a real day. I think we should give them this real federal holiday. You got Columbus playing his pivotal role, Amerigo Vespucci. Hey, our country's named after him, okay? And then, let's honor the contributions of Italians. We used to be racist against them, and then we realized, hey, these guys actually, were foundational in the whole situation we got over here, and we like the mafia movies to boot. And the meatball, there's sandwich. We like Italians now, so let's celebrate Italians. Whatever, we just need a holiday, and we can't. I just don't like this whole thing. Calling it Indigenous Peoples Day, it's just fucked up. It's like, so we're gonna have a guilt holiday. We're gonna have a day that acknowledges how awful things were, or it just doesn't. And either way, even if you're like, it's honoring them, I'm like, I don't know. I just hate this culture war shit where it's got to be, if you're on the right, we're doing Columbus Day. He was good. And then if we're on the left, we're doing Indigenous Peoples Day. It's like, let's get rid of all that. We just call it Italian American Day. We all do Italian accents. It's a good time. Everyone's allowed to do Italian. We're always allowed to do Italian accents. We're always allowed to do Italian accents. That's the fun thing about, the more people we consider white, the more accents we can do. That's why I'm glad y'all think Jews are white, so we can do their accent. Okay. I want to get to the place where we can all do everybody's accents. Yeah, because it's all out of love. Because here in America, we think being racist is gay. It's against our religion. Just like slavery is against our religion. Because we're pretty cool here. In the West, we have some pretty cool ideas. Pretty cool ideas we can learn from other cultures too, but we have some pretty good ones, and there's nothing wrong with that. Okay, so thank you so much for being here, especially if you watched all the way to the end. I love that. Please help me. I'm almost to 1,000 subscribers, and I get to monetize then. I don't even know what that's going to mean exactly, but I'm very excited about it and proud of my little following so far. And I want to make this a bigger part of my life. So if you can help me by subscribing, liking, commenting, sending to a friend. I'm not for everybody, of course. A lot of people really want you to be on the left or on the right, and I am not. I never have been. That's not my jam. I'm a pretty purple person. I am a Texan. So I need your help growing, and I really appreciate you being here, and Tofu really appreciates you being here. And if you have an idea, if you have something that you would like me to cover, a topic you'd like me to cover in a fair and balanced and nerdy and funny way, do let me know in the comments. If you think I got anything wrong, if you think I got anything particularly right. Okay, I gotta go give some attention to this little tofu. But I really appreciate you guys being here so much, and I will see you next time. And happy Italian People Day.